This is episode 52 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. In this episode, we take our second in the Sport to Fitness Racing series. We review soccer or football, depending on where on earth you're from. We talk about running for HYROX doubles. Does it change from when you're training for HYROX singles? We also discuss a lot of listener questions that we received. And we try to answer 3 of them, including everything JK knows about the new turf. Let's make hybrid fitness work for you. How's it going today, JK?
I'm well, thank you, Anthony. Just finished up my training. How are you going?
I am good. I probably just woke up. No, I've been up for about 2 hours now. 3 hours.
What time is it in Vegas?
Just 12:30 when we started this, so
Yeah.
a little late, but it's all right. We have episode 52 today.
Wow. Congratulations.
So technically this is 52 weeks as a year, but I think we missed a week in there or something,
Yep.
but we have for more than a year been talking to each other at least once a week.
At least once a
we
week,
talk to each other
man.
once a week a lot longer than that, but
Yep. It is definitely one of my favorite parts of my week, by the way. And I get to I'm excited that we've completed a year together, Anthony. Many more episodes to come.
nice. So we got a good one today. We're going to continue a few things we've actually been doing. So first off, I got a couple comments back that people like the space facts. So I came up with another one because there's actually a new space fact that came out like this week since we posted our last episode. And then we're doing our sport to hybrid fitness racing, our second one. We're going to talk about anybody coming from soccer or Futbol into fitness racing. So how do you change the training for that? We're going to talk about a lot of listener questions. We have a backlog now. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. We have 12 questions, and we're not going to get to all of them. Some of them are multi-stage topics. So we'll continue with that. And then I think some of this other stuff I have written down, we're just going to push to next week's episode because I think we have way more than an hour covered here.
Probably, yeah.
So if you guys haven't, this is, like I said, this is our coaching podcast between JK and I. If you want to have a fun recap of the London race and some previews coming up, I did see that today they started announcing the relay captains. The first 5 are out. And if you guys want to listen to that, listen to our opinions on some things, go check out the Beyond the Grid show that's live on YouTube every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, which is also Thursday, 8 a.m. Australian Eastern time.
Eastern time, yeah.
And then that would also be, what is the UK? That would be 11 p.m. UK time if you guys are up to listen to that.
On a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah.
So every week we'll go live at that time, and you can always watch it back afterwards as well.
Yep. Yeah.
That is me and JK's sister Bernice. And this last episode, JK made a little appearance to offer some spitfire that he decided to do.
It was good fun.
Yeah, it's great. I like that. We have a lot of fun just talking, and we'll get more people. We have some good lineups lined up, so that'll be fun to get to. So before we actually jump into it, let's get the little promo out of the way right now, JK, for the feed.
The feed, yeah. I've actually got a new feed hat on right now.
Oh, buddy, you recently did that head shave.
I did. Last weekend, I needed to get it shaved. So my first haircut in Nashville last weekend. But I've got a new feed hat on. And the feed is pretty much feeding me with all my training at the moment. And I tell you what, I need it right now. 5 weeks till World. So if you are in the same boat as me, or even if you're not, go check out the feed for all your supplementation needs. One of my biggest things that I've been probably having about 2 or 3 a day is the precision carbohydrate gels. 30 grams of carbohydrates per gel. I have about 2 or 3 of them a day, just depending on what type of training I've got on the day. But that's my go-to carbohydrate gel for in training, I guess, nutrition. So go check out the feed, thefeed.com, for all your supplementation needs.
Nice. All right. Going on to our first topic, just because I got a couple positive responses on the topic of life on another planet on K218b last week. And this is actually another topic that I've watched for the past several years. It's been about a decade going on it. Did you know there's a possibility, a likelihood, that we still have 9 planets in our solar system?
Okay, I I
So
thought that
in like
was
2016, Pluto was kicked out. Pluto's not a planet,
that's
it's a dwarf
right.
planet.
Yeah,
But apparently there's Planet X or Planet 9 is still out there, trans-Neptunial object. It's basically the sunlight to reach where they think it is 0.01% as strong as it is on Earth. So it's like you can't see it. It's black out there, right? You can't see it.
right,
So identifying it is going to be super hard. It's they assume it's about 300 astronomical units away from the sun. That means it's 300 times further away from the sun than we are.
right,
But they can see the effects of its gravity on these other trans-Neptunial objects that create a giant uh, uh, radius around the sun. So their orbits are like highly eccentric, and the only way to really make it fit is if you add this other planet. And what's crazy is our solar system, compared to other systems that we've seen, we don't have any what's called a dwarf Neptune or a super Earth, right? And that's those are two of the most common planets that we've ever observed in the universe.
right,
Are dwarf Neptunes and super Earths. Our solar system doesn't have any. Well, this could say, hey, there's a super Earth that's way out past Neptune, that has like a 30,000 year, right? Um, so 30,000 Earth years equals one of its years.
holy
Just
hell,
massive planet. So it's a massive planet that contains that explains the orbits of trans-Neptunial objects and the tilt in the center of mass of the solar system. Because right now, you might not know this, the sun is actually tilted 6 degrees. So, like something that has an effect on the sun like that has to be something massive. And the center of mass in our solar system is not in the center of the sun. Instead, it's like slightly off, like more towards the surface of the sun. So, like in order for something like that to actually where we're rotating at be right, because otherwise the sun would just rotate in its place. And Jupiter and the other planets don't explain that. So in order for that to happen, there's got to be another massive planet or some sort of object or something that happened early in the universe, early in the solar system formation that made it work. So, but really exciting. In the last week, I saw this published, and it was actually published, or like the study was done like a year ago, but it was published this week, using infrared data from two separate satellites that were 23 years apart, Iris and Akari. They were able to identify one single faint object. It's faint, it's slow moving, which either means it's massive and really far away, or it's a couple sizes bigger than Earth and really close. Uh, and they found the same object decades apart. They found 13 possible objects, but were able to eliminate 12 of them as noise, and they couldn't eliminate this one. The candidate that was found is it was not seen during times it shouldn't have been seen. So like it was seen when it should have, it was not seen when it shouldn't have, and it was in the right locations. So like it's not confirmed yet, but we may have just found Planet Nine.
right. So if that's the case. Correct. You're not saying that there's potential life on that planet. You're
So
just saying that there could potentially be a planet nine.
there could be this giant super rocky planet that's 300 times further away from the sun than we are. That could have been like an exoplanet that our solar system captured. It could have been one that like formed in the early solar system up front, and then Jupiter launched it out to the outer system. Like, there's a lot of theories on how it happened, but if it's out there, it explains a lot of the orbits of these trans-Neptunial objects, and um, kind of like lets people see that, hey, we do have 9 planets, and we might have another one being named soon.
There you go. There you go. I'm very inquisitive on how.
It might take another 10 years to figure out if it's actually a planet though, because they'd have to like track it and find it again.
So, what do you mean it might take 10 years? Like,
Well, we
it's
can't,
just because it's
you
that
know,
far away.
yeah, because it's so hard to see. And like they
Oh,
can use the new James Webb Space Telescope that they launched last year. They could use it to like zoom in on it and maybe look in infrared at like if it's actually there and the heat that it would produce and stuff. But yeah, it's just super interesting space facts.
there you go. There you go. I always learn something with you, Anthony, and
I, I
that's
try to
another.
I
Yeah,
try to keep
it's
it
not
like
all
that.
about fitness, you know. It's not all about
Yeah.
high rocks.
I'm a dad. I need to make sure I learn and know things so that
Yeah,
when she grows
exactly.
up, I can tell her.
Yeah. Give me 3, 4 years, and I'll be translating all this back to my Georgie and my kids.
Yeah. 3 or 4 years. Oh man. Does Georgie know?
Uh, I reckon yeah, 3 years. I reckon 3 years. Yeah. Give us 3 years. There you
Okay.
go.
All right. Going on to fitness things, guys. So, fitness things. Sport to hybrid fitness racing. This is our second in this series that we were talking about. We'll do different sports and how the training would change coming into the sport of hybrid fitness racing. And so today we are covering the most popular sport in the world, soccer or football. Uh, and I'm not
Football.
talking American football. I'm talking football.
Football. Yeah.
I got a funny
Football.
story about football that I'm going to tell you, okay? So in 2013, 2012, 2012, I was in my graduate degree and we traveled to Peru as a team of engineers to build a school in a poverty place in Cusco, Peru. Um, and so while we were there, we had a weekend free. And during that weekend, we went to Machu Picchu. And at the
Wow.
bottom of the mountain of Machu Picchu, there's a town called Aguas Calientes. And so I was in that town, and that weekend happened to be the match between Peru and Chile. It was a soccer match, and they were going, and I think it was like the 87th minute or something, really late in the match. It was 0-0, and then very late in the match, Peru got a goal, but one of the athletes from Chile had fallen. It like taken a spill. It looked like, right? Um, Looked like he just dove, took a
Yeah.
dive.
Yeah.
And they were showing him, and everybody. We were in a bar watching it in Aguas Calientes, and everybody in the bar was, what, like handing
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot of Spanish, but the funniest I've ever been might have been in a different language because in the middle of the bar, um, the guy they showed the screen and I just got up and I go, pobrecito. And that's like a formal version of poor baby. So I was like literally calling him poor baby.
And then what did everyone do?
They laughed. It was the
They
funniest
laughed.
I've ever, like I said, it was the funniest I've ever been. I got a laugh from a bar, and I think Peru went on to win. So it was interesting. It was fun to watch, fun to be. It was a great community. Like just experiencing the culture there is really cool.
Yeah, they are. It's like a religion over there, right? Like
Yeah,
they absolutely obsess over their football.
I remember
Um,
running through it, and like the place wasn't like the best in terms of quality of buildings and everything, but the soccer stadium and the practice field,
yeah,
oh my gosh,
they
like
love it.
wow, super
Yeah,
cool. And it was
yeah,
packed when people were playing.
yeah, yeah. I think like, and not only South America, but obviously it's probably, as you just said at the start, it's the global sport, I guess. But I started when I was 5, I started with playing football. I only played 2 years, and then my dad got me into the Australian rules football, right? The to me, Anthony, and going into kind of like going from a football background to HYROX or to hybrid racing. Football, to me, has a very good, um, I guess, foundation for HYROX or for hybrid because of number one, the actual game itself is a long time, right? So a lot of the time, um, a lot of footballers have a very well-rounded aerobic system. I personally think, however, it's probably more translated into a higher VO2 max, higher anaerobic system because a lot of the training is interval style training and short, sharp bursts with probably a lot more rest. So a lot of, let's just say, like high professional elite footballers probably would have, let's just say, an elite or a very high anaerobic slash VO2 max versus, let's just say, a aerobic threshold. So the first thing that I would say is, okay, if you're coming from a football background, like most other backgrounds, you need to start from the foundational level to get into HYROX, right, or to get into hybrid training. Um, I think, however, as I just said, the football component, yeah, like it's a long game, so they're out there for 90 minutes. They're not actually producing 90 minutes of aerobic activity because the actual game stops and starts a lot. However, they are on their feet for quite some time, so that's very beneficial. But I think from a football background, it's quite simple to me. It's quite making sure that the foundations are starting, or you're starting again from the foundational aerobic zone or component to then actually have a look. Not that I know specifically, Anthony, but footballers do have a very good, I guess, muscular endurance component of their strength. However, I feel like maybe their pure strength needs some work. Um, Obviously, it's not a game like let's just say American football or even Aussie rules where it's contact and you need vigorous force. Yes, you do to some degree, but I want to make sure that footballers coming into HYROX, you got to understand that you probably need to work on a little bit more pure strength, a little bit more explosiveness. However, make sure we start from the foundational elements because I think most of your training is stop start, stop start, stop start, stop start. We want to make sure that you can continue to work sub maximally for a longer period of time. That's my thoughts on it, Anthony. What do you think?
So, and I mean, this might be a little different, but I absolutely agree. Yeah, it's mostly, I would say, interval style training that they do because it's stop, go, but they don't really stop. Like they're not resting,
No,
right?
sure, yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah,
sprinting and then usually jogging and then sprinting and then jogging. But they also have to have ball handling skills and the level of skill with sports like this, the skill can make up for a lack of fitness. Like you can get better at the actual skill and be a better football player if
yep,
your fitness isn't as good, if your ball handling skills and your ability are just top notch, right?
sure, yeah,
So this is like one of those sports where skill matters just as much as how fit they are. And like
yeah,
your level of fitness can be astronomically high, but if you don't have a minimum level of skill, it won't matter,
yeah,
right?
for
Um,
sure.
so when you're going from soccer to football, or soccer football to fitness racing, what usually you have to look at is that if you're completely done, right? you don't need those skills anymore. So the time you spent working on skills can actually go towards improving your fitness.
Yeah.
Lots of things that they need, aerobic base, just like you were talking about. Like they have the ability to go in and out of that aerobic zone and like bounce across the line, right? So they shouldn't have an issue if they can push the sleds, if they can pull the sleds, if they can handle the weight of the lunges and the farmer carry and the wall balls. If all of that is fine, and they have that minimum level of strength required, then all they have to work on is getting back to be able to run at a consistent pace while maintaining the in and outs of going from station to run to station to run and where
Yeah.
that's at, right?
Yeah. And on top of that, I personally think just the foundational biomechanical movements of a hinge, a squat, a push, a pull, a carry, all these functional fitness movements that we have to do and we try to do on the regular to get better at HYROX, just needs to be worked on and needs to be in the training program for these footballers, for the matter of the skill of these movements, more than the fitness to start out with. So, things such as just like getting them to get really familiar with air squats, getting them familiar with, like light hinge, maybe kettlebell swings and deadlift or RDLs, getting them familiar with push-ups and burpees, carries, etc., just so they get familiar with the skills of those biomechanical planes of motions that translates into a HYROX race.
That's exactly right. They need to uh, go through the range of motion.
Yeah.
They need to have a foundational movement patterns. Like there are some movement patterns they have to get down. Like the question is, can you get into a deep enough squat? Can you um, get into a lunge without tipping over? A lot of like the same things you find with somebody who they have a certain movement pattern and they have good direction because like they're cutting and turning. So they're usually not like just a single plane athlete. They have good
Mm.
lateral movement. But they have to still be able to uh, do the movements properly. So
Yeah.
getting to the efficacy that we talked about before, like safely. So safety, efficacy, efficiency, getting into
Yeah.
the position correctly and safely, and then building up the fitness, the muscular endurance and the movement patterns through those positions.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um,
So
yes.
what would you do for a soccer player, just as an example, week if they go from, I'm retired from professional soccer or retired from semi-professional soccer or something, football. What's the first thing you take with them, and what does their journey look like?
Yeah. Journey looks like making sure that we are um, prioritizing aerobic foundational work, running, but also on the machines, as the base of the program. And look, it's funny, we'll continue to do this with other sports. I think most of the answer is that's where everyone should start anyway, but for footballers especially. And then make sure that we work on and daily, routinely, weekly, sorry, where we're hitting different range of motions. We're getting familiar with the stations. We're getting not necessarily the actual stations, but we're getting familiar with the biomechanical planes of motions of the stations. And then also take them through, I guess, some threshold training. Start introducing threshold training, because I still feel that their background is probably, as you said, Anthony, it's not pure resting, but they're going from really quick sprint into jog recovery, a bit like fartlek training, I guess, more intense, right? So we need to try to produce a long maximal effort, um, you know, for their running especially. So, even to a point where we can start introducing double threshold training.
And that's right. Like I wouldn't just jump them into double threshold right away. I'd probably say, hey, let's, work on your fitness is probably good. We can make it better, but
Mm.
we need to translate what you have now into functional movement patterns, basically. Get them doing burpees, doing squats, doing lunges, pushing a sled, and then also I translate it into things like one of the best functional movements to start with, like a dumbbell power snatch.
Mhm.
Just do some dumbbell power snatch, either from the hang or from the ground. Get them to do that, and then start adding some wall balls, jumping rope, things that will keep them consistent and moving, and then while building, just hey, go for easy run, add some strides, like things they're already good at, so because you don't want to lose what they already have, and then build it in. So you're looking at like a longer progression. If you're talking professional soccer player to elite athlete, you're looking at like 12 to 18 months.
Yeah,
If you're looking at just high school soccer or high school football player, or semi-pro, just to like finishing a HYROX race, they could probably do a little bit of strength training, um, in addition to some of the stuff they're already doing, just so they can pass the level of an open HYROX or a pro HYROX if they're just looking to finish it.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
You have anything else you want to add about going from the sport of soccer or football into any hybrid fitness racing?
No, but I think if you're out there, listener, and you're listening to this, and you come from a football background, we'd love to hear from you as well. So if you have any thoughts yourself, but next week we'll obviously tackle another sport, Anthony.
Yeah, yes, we will. So we'll pick that up and we'll add it to here. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to pick up this podcast where we left the last one off at. So we asked a question at the end of the last one. So we're going to start with, like I said, I think we have
Mm.
12 or 13 questions here. And some of them are like multi-stage questions. So we're going to get through a few of these guys. We probably won't get through all of them. If you have questions or comments, or you're wondering, why don't you just go up, hit that little three dots button, leave us a rating or a review. That really helps us get out to a lot of people. And it's free content for you guys, and it's helps us a lot. So we're just trying to spread good information to as many people as possible within our communities here. And if you want to leave a comment or a rating, we'd really appreciate it. So where we left off last time, JK. And
Mm-hmm.
guys, if you do have a question, you want to message us, everything goes to JK. That's what we're saying, right? Uh,
Not necessarily.
you can send it to JK. You can send it to him. It's at jk.jameskelly on Instagram, or you can send it to me at a wild parasini or at the hybrid engine. Or you can email us your questions. And if you're on one of our apps, you can also just direct message us from the app, and we collect everything and get it put into a document here that I have. So if you want to email us, you can email us at the hybrid coaching podcast at gmail.com. And I'll be checking that email. So
Awesome.
the last question we had. I might have a question for your podcast. How do you know how fast you can start in a HYROX race, and how do you determine your race strategy? Everyone has a different strategy that suits them, but how do you discover what works best for you? For example, Lauren tends to start fast, while Bo has a very strong finish. JK mentioned a while ago in a podcast that since he started working with you, he races differently, and his results have improved. So, how do you determine your race strategy? I know having a solid base is important too, and I'm working on that through training, and it's paying off because so far I've set a PR in every race.
Um, I'm going to preface something first, and like for the viewer, let's just use Lauren. Like Lauren looks as if she starts fast. but I can probably say for her, it's not necessarily actually super fast. It's probably a pace that she can sustain for the whole race. And to go into it, and I can only talk from my own personal experience as an athlete, right? Knowing that I've done the work and I'm confident with my ability to sustain effort from the get go, I know my pace and I know my fitness that no matter what pace I go out at, I'm going to be able to sustain. So just to give you some context, right? Yeah, it looks fast, maybe someone like Lauren who goes out like she does, but that's not in my eyes, it's not necessarily her going out fast, if that makes sense. Now, to go to get to the question, I guess, it's a tough one for any HYROX athlete, especially if you haven't done many HYROX races before, because you have that fear of the unknown of what pace you should be going out at, right? I've done it before, right? I feel like if you are a well-trained athlete, you should know the pace that you should go out at. You should be um, confident in your ability to sustained effort. And what that means for you is different to what that means to me. But it shouldn't necessarily feel too hard right from the word go. Your I guess perceived effort shouldn't be that high. But also, I don't know, I don't want to sound too kind of like cutthroat here, but it's meant to be a tough race, right? So make sure it's make sure it's tough, you know. It's a hard question, Anthony, because everyone's different. Like the answer is, well, it depends on your training history. It depends on your pace yourself. It depends like your threshold pace. It depends on how much training you've done. But in reality of the matter, it goes back to having confidence. If you have confidence in your ability to sustain power, then your body will do what your body should do. Um, Making sure that you're coming off the ski erg not too taxed with your heart rate skyrocketed is probably the only thing that I would suggest or hint at, because I think a lot of people still do that. But I don't know, Anthony. I did not answer the question. I know I did not actually answer the question there, but it's a tricky one because it depends on you as the individual and your training and your confidence in your training to perform sub maximally at an extended period of time.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, great points on all that. I absolutely agree that you don't want to exceed your limits right away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the same time, like there's merit to getting out and going, and there's merit to sitting back and resting. Um, I watch a lot of these races. Um, I watch them every single time I'm doing threshold training or strength running. So you're
Good, yeah.
talking 3 times a week. Usually I always go through like I rewatch Amsterdam, I rewatch Vegas and Glasgow. Like I see these races, I rewatch them and I try to learn from them. But just as a reference, you're looking, I believe it's in Amsterdam where Greg Williams says on the broadcast, like, yeah, it looks like these ladies are going out fast, but the fact of the matter is they are fast. Like they are fast. Um, and if you go back and look, there's something to be said for pacing, but how do you know these people in front aren't pacing? They are doing their pace in the race. And the way you can look at that is like um, on the women's side, just for an example, on the women's side. the top five to the Skierg in Amsterdam were the top five overall. Um,
Mm.
if you go look at Glasgow, the top six to the Skierg, five of them were in the top six overall, and the only one that wasn't was Kate Davey because she rolled her ankle.
There you go. Right.
On the men's side in Glasgow, the top two in the Skierg were the top two overall.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one that made the podium that wasn't was Rich Ryan, and then Bo
Yeah.
was fourth. Like, so they came back up, right? So you're looking at people that get out and they create the race. There are so many instances of people getting out and blowing up, though. Like that can happen, but if you talk about pacing from the back to strike later, that only ever works for one person in a race and it's never the same person, right? Like, because otherwise, if it worked for multiple people, then it really doesn't work since the multiple people would be like
Doing this. Yeah,
going
doing the
going
same thing.
from 13, yeah, because otherwise somebody finishes ahead. So like going from 12th to second, right? Oh, I went up 10 spots. Well, somebody else tried the same thing and went from 11th to third, so it's not as successful for them to
Right.
pace it. Like there's so the variance is really only works for one person. I'm not saying get out faster than you're able to. I'm saying get out at a high comfortable rate,
That's the
maintain
word.
that
Yeah.
for like maintain it and be able to ride. You have to be able to ride your own line.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're
And that.
you're there.
Sorry, you go.
Yeah, you should absolutely go out there and like JK, you know your race strategy. You know what we do with you. We're like you very, very rarely in an elite race are going to be leading at the sled push,
Yeah.
right? Um, but you're still within yourself, but you're not dropping down just because you want to climb the field.
No.
You're racing where your level is at that time because you know where you can strike.
Exactly. Exactly. But what you just said is comfortably hard from the get-go. Um, and also understanding that line, right? That line, I don't want to call it the red line, but because it's not the red line, it's that line before the red line that you can just hover over right from the start. I think that's very, very key. Um, you know, again, I can only talk for myself, right? Because and for the listener, you like put yourself in your own shoes right here, right now, whilst I'm talking. You can only understand your own body, and you know your own pace. And if you've trained well, you should be confident in that pace right from the start, and that pace is a comfortably hard. Um, to the point where I guess Anthony was alluding to making sure that you are in it, not necessarily. I don't want to say in it to win it, but that's just the phrase, right? In it,
Yeah, and I wouldn't say
in
it
it to
like
win
that.
it right from the start.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it exactly like that. Like you're in it to um kind of yeah. You don't want to be going easy. Like take it easy here, take it easy here. You need to know like your training should be able to inform you how hard you should be able to push. You don't
Yeah,
have to be like we don't ever do JK, how often do we ever say, "Oh, we're going to test. We're going to test." We don't test things ever. What we
no,
do is we give you enough situations and enough awareness in your training that you know I can do this amount of work in this amount of time so I can push to this level and still be within myself and be able to do more. We've we've trained you in a way that like you know what you're able to do and still be able to work after and you know
yeah,
what your like limits of your work are, right?
yeah,
We know you can maintain X pace at this station for this amount of time. So when we only have to do, you know, 50 meters of sled pushing, how long is that actually going to take you? We know that,
exactly.
you could farmer carry these kettlebells for 400 meters in this amount of time. So when we do this amount in the race, how long should that take you when you're fatigued, right?
Exactly.
We know we know what like if you absolutely blow up because we test this sometimes, we know, hey JK, you absolutely blew up. What is your ability to run when you're just dead? What pace can you hold? And that goes back to like, well, I can always maintain my aerobic threshold, right? Or I can always maintain right below my anaerobic threshold. So you know what like your bottom is. And that's what we talked about before. We're not necessarily like we're bringing your ceiling up by raising the floor. We
Yep.
raise your floor so that the zone that you're actually going to be consistently hitting is tighter and tighter and tighter, and we raise your ceiling. And then we get tighter and tighter and tighter, and we raise your ceiling, right?
Yep. That's exactly right. I think what you just said there is making me think of my training, my racing before we started together, Anthony, and due to the fact, and I'm totally okay to say this, because it's the truth, I didn't have the aerobic base that I have now, and due to that, right from the start, for some reason, with every race, I would be, I guess, over over pacing myself a little bit, and that's probably just to do with my I guess lack of awareness of what the race had to was at that time. And guys, I'm talking like 2 years ago, right, when I first started. But now, as you just said, the broader the base, the more room you've got to play with. Is that the right term there, right? Um,
Yeah, I mean, the really is like you look at your consistency now, like over time, right? Before, I'm sure you could have your fitness was good. Like people get fitness, but the way that you were set up, you knew what you were capable of doing in X amount of situation, but you didn't know like what your limits were, right? You didn't know what's the least you could do to feel good, and you didn't know what the maximum you could do to to
there you go.
maintain. And so you were
Yeah,
going outside this box during the race because you would like go faster and slower. And so when you get outside the that zone that you're trying to stay in, um, it doesn't mean you couldn't have like hit a really good race.
yeah,
Like you did before. You had some races
a
that were
few
like
years. Yeah,
boom, but then you'd have like these races that you're just like, how come I couldn't do that again? And
yeah,
it's the understanding of like why you weren't able to because you were getting outside your ability at the time and not coming back to it. And so
that's
now
it.
instead you're more steady with where your efforts are placed.
Exactly, exactly. I think it's interesting talking about this pacing, right? I actually was speaking to one of my athletes yesterday or Tuesday, I think, about the race itself, right, is pretty much a pacing game until the wobbles, in my eyes, or maybe slightly before that for some people. But the only time that you really truly want to, let's just call it like, feel the pain, or feel as if you are literally exerting yourself to the full potential, or the maximum, is at the wobbles, because you've literally got 100 wobbles and you can crawl across the finish line if you need to.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is, right? Like, why are you saving anything for after the wall balls? You don't need to empty the tank. But I think that the fitter an individual is, and that's where like why we want to keep improving fitness. The fitter you are, the further back of the race, like in terms of like from the finish line, the further back you can press that gas pedal.
I like that statement as well. Right.
Like you might be the better that you do at controlling your effort to a certain point, the further you can press when you need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Interesting.
I hope we covered that question well enough. That was a lot. And how do you determine your own race strategy is, um, yeah, just it's work. You need to know, you need to in your training, not through like testing different things, but you need to put yourself in different situations and understand like, look, I know when I do a 10-minute EMOM of wall balls that if I do 20, I'm going to blow up and it gets hard to do 20 in the next minute. But if I do 17, I can hold that forever. Like that's good information to know so that when you get to the wall balls, you can start out like, I'm gonna do 17, I'm gonna do 17, I'm gonna do 17. Okay, now I'm gonna go and like let
Yeah.
myself get over that line. Like figure out where you need to get
Yeah.
to be able to breach that line,
Yeah.
right? And so we do a lot of things just like that is like, what is your capability in a certain time
Yeah.
duration?
Yeah.
And that'll inform your work. All right. Let's keep going to these questions because that was one question out of all these that we have, and we have a few
Yeah.
more. Um, so this one actually came from an elite athlete. So I have a question, maybe for your coaching podcast. With the rise in popularity of doubles, say somebody was only training for doubles. Would the run training that you program differ? Would there be less focus on threshold and more super threshold and VO2 max work?
Why are you smiling?
I want to hear your answer before I go on, and I'll tell you how I responded to them too, because I did have a
Cool.
conversation.
I think to quickly answer it, no. That's my response. No. To me, like the running training for doubles won't, in my eyes, doesn't necessarily have to change. Because proper threshold training, I say proper, if you're really in your threshold zone and you're properly training threshold, it's allowing you to become quicker in the first place, um, across a race like HYROX. So no, the answer is no. I don't think you necessarily need to worry about doing things such as VO2 max, or let's just say like a typical example of a running workout that I still see a lot of people do is like the 400 meters with like a minute break, or like 12 by 400s, or even 16 or 20 by 400s, right? At a VO2 max. Yeah, like there's definitely benefit in that, but you're going to get a lot more benefit from a proper threshold block and actually working in your threshold.
Yeah. So I'll tell you how I responded is that no, I wouldn't change the run training
Correct.
from a singles to a doubles. The reason why is because your running from a singles to a doubles doesn't change.
Yep.
The only difference is you might be able to run more towards your anaerobic threshold instead of your like a little pulled back towards your aerobic threshold, but it's still the same amount of running, same
Yep.
like intensity of running. The station work is half the amount of station work, so you're in and out of anaerobic zones doing the stations, but during the running you're still pressing. And usually with the doubles teams, unless you're just like twin mirrors of each other, you're going to be running a fast runner and a slow runner, and so
Yep.
somebody there is going to be running under their anaerobic threshold while the other person is pushing it,
Is
right? Like
pushing.
when you and
Correct.
I ran, I was pushing my anaerobic threshold, and you were
So was I.
frankly at your aerobic threshold or lower.
No,
Uh,
I was pushing my
and
anaerobic pressure.
during the stations, you would have to go pretty anaerobic
Correct.
because, like we just talked about earlier, you knew what your base level of running could be
Yeah.
to run with me, and basically, no matter how hard you push the station, you weren't really gonna run slower than what I was running, because
Correct.
I was running my top speed below your floor. And now most most like elite doubles are not going to be paired up the way we are, where like you have one person significantly slower than the other. But if you have two people that are relatively fast running together, they're still able to go in and out and get their rest on the station so they can run towards their anaerobic threshold during the runs.
Yep.
Um, but one of the things I responded with, like, was that no, I wouldn't change the training in terms of that way. Maybe I would change some station stuff to make it some station intervals, but not too much. I think the
No.
training works both ways for both individuals and doubles. But the higher over the anaerobic threshold that someone runs, the longer the rest period needs to be. So if you keep extending past what you should be doing, that means that the longer and longer rest period you're going to need on the station work, which makes your partner work harder on the stations, which means that maybe they're getting more tired. Uh,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
so if you take all the rowing, for example, but like you make them do all more of the sled pull, uh, the lull that you'll experience is somewhere in the burpees, right? Like if you're changing the stations like that. But if you're able to do that, then the lull you experience is just like you need to know when your partner needs to recuperate.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. Agreed.
So I guess the simple answer there is just no, I wouldn't change the run training from what we're already doing, uh, whether a person was
Double,
running a doubles or a singles.
double or single threshold.
Yep. All right. Here's a question. We might end on this one. We have a lot more, but this one I'm very curious to hear JK's take on it.
Okay.
This is
And
from a
Anthony,
fan who
and
sent
Anthony's smiling right now, so I'm curious myself. I have no
this.
idea this question.
This is from a fan who sent in a few questions and ideas for topics. Um, I'm not going to name, I mean, people might know, but I'm not going to name the elite athlete they're talking about here. So let's see. I'm going to rephrase this. Thinking about how the new sled turf this week and how less friction on the turf will make the sleds easier and make HYROX a sport for more running focused athletes. If the new turf is being used at the World Champs, and if it does make the sleds lighter, do you have any thoughts on how this will affect the outcome? Any names you expect to benefit the most? Before you answer, JK, I just want to say the turf or the carpet, whatever, the weight of the sleds doesn't change, so it can't make it lighter. What they mean, I think, there is just like reducing the friction. I'm gonna tell you, JK, I see this as everybody there is just kind of projecting the fear that they have of on the turf because frankly, nobody right now knows what it is
No, no.
or where it is. But I know you have something on the tip of your tongue to say here, so
Oh, great question, first of all. Second of all, my first statement is I have trust in HYROX. They have created this amazing sport that I have trust in what they're doing right now with the new turf and producing um this new this new turf for races to be very similar to be a very similar feeling to what we have been used to.
and
I have full faith because no, just
JK, and
quickly.
I'll just verify that for you. I've talked to a lot of different people at High Rocks, and the number one thing of switching to the turf was they wanted it to feel like the carpet. They want it to be the same resistance at the carpet because one of the primary things was we don't want it to significantly impact the times that are currently
Bingo.
done.
Bingo. And think about it. Why would Hyrox want to change the race? They've taken over the world. They don't want to change the
They're
race.
not out to change the race.
They're not out there to change the race. So have faith in Hyrox doing the right thing. But in my eyes, the times don't matter. It's not the times of the sleds that don't is let's just say the problem. I'm going to say it, the problem. To me, as an elite athlete, I see it a lot. I speak about it a lot with other elite athletes that the most important thing is for us to get a standardized sled track, let's just call it. Meaning lane 1 to lane 15 when we're racing in an elite 15 race to be consistent across all lanes. That's the most important thing and they're trying to do something about it, right? They're trying to do something about it, which is great. And I'm hoping that this turf is going to do that. And I'll be honest, and to kind of like rant be over in a second. We won't find out until Worlds. We will not find out until Worlds. I have full faith that it will be standardized a lot better than the past, and they don't want to change the race. Bingo.
Yeah.
Done.
I think that is really good. I love what you just said there too. Yeah, we're not talking about inconsistencies venue to venue. You're talking lane to lane there.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, that's one thing that has been an apparent problem. And if you talk to any of the elite athletes, they say it is an apparent problem. That yeah, inconsistencies that way right now. And so this is what it looks like, a blanket attempt to correct some of that, if possible. And so what's really cool about that is, nobody really knows what this turf is. I saw a lot of rhetoric about it. Oh, it's the warm up turf from New York last year, and it's not. That's
It's
not
not.
the turf that it is. It's definitely not that. So it is a turf that I think JK, you right before this call, you were told and talking about how it might be. It's something that they're trying to get as close to the carpet as possible.
Yep.
Uh, I don't know which carpet. Is that like the same level resistance carpets that they had in Amsterdam? Is it the same level resistance carpets that they had in Hong Kong or in Vegas or like which ones? I don't know. But as long as it's level across the board, I think is the most important thing so that all the athletes are running the same course within the same race.
Yep. That's right. That's exactly right. Exactly right. But hey, like whether it is, let's just say it becomes either 10% harder or 10% easier. That is okay in my eyes as an elite athlete. If lane to lane, it is consistent. And I can't see it getting drastically like more than 10% harder or more than 10% easier with this new turf. But if it does, that's fine if the lanes are consistent.
Yeah. And further on to the question that we had here, because they were talking about the turf. I love that you said that. Thank you. I made me smile when you started talking about
So,
that. If it does make the sleds heavier or lighter, do you have any thoughts on how it will affect the outcome? And honestly, if it's and we don't know, but if it is equal, like you were just saying, then it shouldn't affect the outcome. Who tested it and what their maybe bias was, I don't know. So, uh, what what do you do in that case? It still should be the same race for everyone.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have more questions. How much time you got?
I do not have any more time. I
Okay.
apologize. I've got to get back to training, Anthony.
Oh man. Okay.
I've,
We have
I've got
a
my road
lot
schedule.
left. We got through
I
three of one, two,
3 of
three,
10, 13.
7, 8, 9. So we have nine left.
9.
Um, but yeah, let's end it there for today, guys, and we will pick it back up. If you have more comments or more questions, if you're curious about anything like we were just talking about, just on the sleds and the turf in general, nobody's nobody that we know of has like touched it yet, right? So nobody really knows what they're getting into, and I think the first opportunity they're going to have to touch the sleds is going to be at World Championships. So at least that way it's a level playing field.
Yep.
Um, and so it's all speculation right now about what it is. And if anybody is saying it's absolutely lighter or absolutely heavier, then it kind of is just projecting a fear, I think, of like they don't want it to be that way.
Yeah,
But that's fine. Like we don't know the answer, but we'll find out in 5 weeks.
exactly. Which means just remember
every little bit of information you're getting from something like this is just subjective opinion, and that's okay. Everyone can have their opinion right now, but you either take it or you don't. We'll find out in 5 weeks, as you just said.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just looking at it, this is maybe us just talking to other athletes or, um, maybe JK and Proven have some back secret door that they know of, but I don't.
I
So
wish. I wish.
you do. Okay. Share it with me.
Yeah.
Uh, but it'd be nice to know. So if anybody does have information on it, like, yeah, let us know. And if
Yeah.
we're allowed to share it, that'd be great.
Yep. For sure. For sure. Thank you once again, Anthony. Listeners, if you ever want to reach out, please reach out. Any questions, anything at all, jk.jameskelly on Instagram.
Yep. And you can find me at the Hybrid Engine on Instagram or a Wild Parasini. If you want, guys, JK and Georgie Vesley re-upped and did their YouTube again. So definitely go follow that.
We
And
did.
that was those are great little content pieces. And especially if you want to follow my wife, Lauren Weeks, on YouTube, please go subscribe to her. Her next video will coming out. I don't know if it's going to be a day or 2 days after this comes out, but it will be on her lactate threshold testing we did a couple weeks ago. And she reveals all of her numbers, what she's running at, all the speeds, and what we tested at. And
Awesome.
then we go into depth on it. So that one will come out soon, as well as if you haven't yet, I just saw yesterday, and so I'm going to give him a little plug. Bo Wills started a YouTube channel. And when I subscribed, I saw he had 3 subscribers. So
Awesome,
I
Bo.
I love seeing all these uh, elite athletes and HYROX names going out there and starting and showing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So there are a lot more. I know John Wynn has one, Graham Holiday, everybody like Jake Dearden, like all these guys, and a lot of the women do too. Have these YouTube channels. They guys, it's just support for the community. If you go show them some love and free content and stuff to watch during your runs.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm excited to watch Lauren's threshold testing video. Very
Yeah.
excited.
Yep.
Very excited. Anthony, once again, thank you. We'll talk soon.
All right. I'll talk to you later, JK. Have a good day.
See you, mate.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. If you'd like to reach out and get in contact with us, you can email the Hybrid Coaching Podcast at gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram, either at the Hybrid Engine or at jk.jameskelly. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.